All right, all, let's come to order. Welcome to the May 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Town of Newbury Human Resources Board. Present are
Diane Doyle.
Mark Gleckman,
John Farrar,
Anthony Antico.
Patty Fisher.
thank you all, and we expect Lynn Peabody should be joining us momentarily, but it is about 4 or 5, so why don't we kick off here. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the meeting which was held on April 24th, 2023. As always, Diane, thank you for preparing them and distributing them to the board in advance. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the April 24th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you. Thank you again, Diane. Second order of business is employee issues. Let me turn first to Diane to see if there's anything that we should be aware of at Town Hall.
Something I'm not aware of.
Okay.
I had no reports
Chief
either.
Fisher?
No reports either.
Okay, good. Personnel actions and job vacancies. I believe we have had a little bit of movement here over the past month or so. Diane, if you could speak to that.
Yep, so, I think I already reported on this, but we have a new call firefighter that was hired for the fire department. And then the others were police in nature, so we have, we do have one other. So we now have an opening for an assistant town clerk position. The assistant town clerk that was in place has left and gone back to the harbor master position with the police department. Wasn't quite a fit for both, and so
So still employed by the town, but back
she
to
is
the original
employed by the
position.
town, went back to being a assistant, no, harbor
Master helper.
So we now have an opening at the town clerk's office for an assistant town clerk that's been advertised. Temporarily, we have Wilma McDonald Mahoney from Salisbury, who is a very seasoned town clerk, coming in a couple days a week just to help out.
Good. So on an interim basis?
On an interim basis.
Great.
Yep.
So
Yep.
good, no loss of services there while
Nope.
we're.
So we have 3 things within the police department. I have another harbor master helper that was hired
Correct?
and started last week.
Correct.
And I have assistant harbor master that had been hired. I think that might have been reported at the last meeting.
That,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
I believe that was
Okay.
the
And
last
then
one or the one
I
before.
think there was a change in the dispatch, or
Yeah.
emergency communications dispatcher.
So we have an opening for a full-time emergency communication dispatcher as well. It's been posted.
Is the full-time position new? Oh,
Nope, it was pre-existing.
it was, okay, and so it's been open for bid.
Nope, it just opened on
15.
15.
Oh, okay,
We had one person left, or
Okay.
is no longer in the position.
Yes.
got it, so it had been filled, somebody left, okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah, no, we went to both part-time and full-time. We had 3 full-time
Right.
emergency communication dispatchers. And now we're down to 2.
Now we're down to
Just
2.
an opening.
Got it. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Anything else? DPW, fire department, no changes there that you're aware of?
No?
Thank you. Next agenda item, workplace issues, ethics issues, discrimination issues. I'm not aware of anything that's percolating there. I've not heard of anything that's come up in any of the work spots, workplaces, I should say. Diane?
No,
No? Okay. Once again, that's good news.
that's good
I
news.
think for probably about the 73rd consecutive month, we can report this. Nothing to talk about there. That's a good thing. Safety issues. Chief, let me speak to you. Anything, turn to you, anything new there?
So we do, as the emergency management director, I had put out the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency in Massachusetts, how the town is going to proceed with that. So this went out to all department heads last week. So do you want me to read this for us?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's to Newbury Town employees, board members, and volunteers. On March 15th, 2023, the Healy Driscoll administration announced that the COVID-19 public health emergency in Massachusetts would end on May 11th, 2023. This notification shall act as a guide for how town employees should proceed now that the health emergency is ended. Non-COVID-19 sick employees should follow your department's personal policy procedure manual, policies and procedures, rules and regulations, and/or collective bargaining agreements as it relates to the use of sick time. If you test positive for COVID-19, please refer to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health website for information relative to quarantine, isolation, and testing. This information will be inclusive of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, isolation and quarantine guidelines, and we offered people the link as well. The reason that we're not putting in writing what it is, because that'll be fluid as they change information, so we just want to refer people directly to the source. While supplies last, COVID-19 testing kits are available at Newbury Town Hall, Newbury Board of Health, and Newbury Police Department. The Town Hall will continue to make masks available to staff members who choose to wear them, however they are not mandatory. Department managers can request supplies through the Newbury Board of Health. There has not been any Department of Public Health or CDC recommendations relative to plexiglass structures that separate staff from the public. Therefore, the town is not mandating they remain erect. Department managers can choose to keep them up or remove them. Moving forward, the town of Newbury will continue to follow the guidelines recommended by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health and the Center for Disease Control. And then on behalf of the Newbury COVID-19 Unified Command Team, past and present, I'd just like to thank everyone for their cooperation and understanding throughout the pandemic. So this went out on the 16th, I believe it was.
And just to be clear, that's specific to Newbury town employees. It's not a proclamation for the public.
No, it's just for the town employees, boards and volunteers on how to operate while working or doing your service within the town.
Okay. And is there something comparable to that or something that maps to that would be available for the public? Should they have any questions about whether it's use of plexiglass or anything that's happening in and around public spaces in town that we can post in public spots or?
So I don't believe so, because if anything with the public, it would just be referred back to the DPH and the CDC for how things, and we will change as they change. So if there's another spike and we're now required to mask up again, we will be compliant with anything with the state. But now anyone in the public can choose to continue to wear masks and gloves if they would like, in town buildings or out on their own. So they will be greeted with how it is.
Right.
You know.
So let me just throw that out to the board. Thoughts on whether it might be a good idea for the town to publish its own information piece, for the public that can be posted, whether it's in the library or here or PD. Am I the only one that's thinking that public might come in and say, "Gee, I noticed the plexiglass is down. Is that now a policy? How come this plexiglass is up, but that one's down?" Are there things that we as the public should be aware of?
I believe the state, who is the Department of Public Health, and in concert with other people have created a little blurb with all of the facts and figures as of their thinking now.
Right.
So and I don't think I've ever seen one, but what they have been talking about, it does exist.
Yeah.
I believe that's on the link that was provided to everyone and that has been pushed out throughout the campaign notifying the public that the public health emergency ended on the 11th. I believe
Who signed that? Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And you got this
Is that on?
information from, did you draft this yourself, or did you get something from the state, law enforcement or something?
So we, the Newbury COVID-19 Unified Command Team met after the Board of Health met with the Mass Board of Health to come up with the information on how to proceed forward. So
Okay.
we crafted this as a team after that meeting.
Okay, sorry to ask, is that was that committee just a Newbury committee, or was that like a statewide?
It was a
COVID?
Newbury committee.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Chief, is that on the website?
This, I'm not sure, I'll find out if it ended up getting put on the website.
And to Mark's question, given the chief's comment prior that it is a fluid circumstance, I don't think we want any hardware up on the walls. That's up to Governor Healy.
Yeah.
That's how I feel,
Yeah.
is people can get their general information about, because we're just following the state guidelines at this point.
Did that go in the newspaper?
This was just to employees.
Okay.
So, but Governor Healy's end of the pandemic has been in the news, yes.
Okay, because I know BILH, you know, that was in the newspaper, that the hospital system, you know, was doing away with because of the end of the COVID pandemic.
Right.
So, and we don't have any internal signs, you know, but we, oh gosh, I forget what day it was, like a week, 2 weeks ago Friday or something, a week and a half ago, it was the end of mask mandating in our hospitals.
Right.
So, but we don't have any signage inside the hospital saying anything about that.
Okay. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you, Chief.
And I'll find
Anything
out about the website as well.
Okay, anything else on that?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any safety issues other than COVID related, anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Other business, Diane, you want to speak to,
Other than navigating Route 1 these days.
do we have other copies of this?
I've given, yeah,
Okay.
there's a copy.
Long awaited, sort of a skeleton, if you will,
Oh, Lynn
of the,
Lynn needs one.
Everyone
Pork
on
chop.
me.
Yeah,
Oh,
share,
I
no,
thought
share.
there was one there. Well, okay.
You go, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
You have it?
I thought it was.
that's all right, I've already.
Okay. So, as I mentioned at the last meeting, when we all set our budgets back in February, one of the things that came into play in terms of gathering information financially and otherwise was sort of this, by department, you know, how did we all fit and sit within the organization? And as we developed our budgets this year under a sort of different system through the Collins Center and through, Collins Center in conjunction with something else.
Yeah.
One of the parts to the budget setting process was to come up and create this org chart, which is what I had said was more or less changing from the directive that we had gotten a while ago. So what you have before you is a draft of the higher level organizational chart as it was put together by this process. So Tracy wanted us to first of all have a copy of it that came with the document from the Collins Center, including all of the budget information. And I think from here, I think her hope is that we would put it up on the website and sort of take a look at it. I don't know that she necessarily is expecting it to be, well, I guess I'll just stop there and throw it out to the group. This is the org chart that has been created.
And so Tracy has reviewed it?
She has
She's
reviewed
comfortable
it.
with it?
Yes.
Okay. If folks recall, when we first started discussing this, job one, of course, was to do what Diane has just described, which is to create it, to make sure that Tracy as the town administrator and the department heads are comfortable with the way it flows, and apparently that is the case. And now the next set of challenges, if you will be how, if at all, do we want to use it other than just having a place for it on the website? You know, to the point Diane just made, you know, Matt Cooper will ensure that there's a spot for it, you know, to be able to click on the org chart. It may sit on the front page of the website, top right. If somebody wants to see what the org chart looks like, it's easy enough to click on it. And then the question will be, what, if anything else, do we want it to do? You know, does it need to be interactive? Do we want folks to be able to click on any one box within the org chart? And if so, what opens up beyond that? Right? So that's something we can get on the agenda for perhaps over the next month or so in consultation with town administrator and decide what, if anything else, we want to do with this now that it's been created. Thoughts? Tony?
I'm looking at one rectangular block here that says finance. Well, I'm new to the town and I have no idea. This is where I go to get a loan or whatever. It's finance.
Yep.
What I think they're looking at is in that area. Now you've got FinCom, you've got a whole wide area of groups of people whose objective is the, you know, the finance, the successful finance of the town, I would think. So I would think at least that, it should be, there's a word for it, it's escaping me, but blossom out into.
Broken out further?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you click, you know, police, you would open it up and see our org chart as far as chief of police, deputy chief, sergeants, and whose falls under that. So you would see the individual org charts, is that what you're saying?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
Is there not evidence in our website, any number of these blocks you click on, you get that dispersion of additional information. You click on the police and then you can maneuver throughout that department, it being probably the largest site we have on the internet. There's little that's not unclothed about your department, it's already not on the internet
Yeah.
for the town site. Not so much for obviously the individual highway finance et al. Those could be expanded.
But if you're looking to have one central hub,
Yeah.
where I don't need to Google search, for example, police, then Google search fire. You know what I mean? If we're looking for this to be the central place on the town website where you would go to then be linked up to the police website specifically where it shows the org chart, that kind of thing, I think that.
These are all the questions that we
The
need to
links.
get to.
That's what I'm talking
It's
Yeah.
a quality index to the village.
But it's a,
Yeah.
what's the term? It's an active,
Yeah.
you click on that, it opens up another.
And it could just be because I don't have my glasses on, but I'm not seeing fire department under the public safety breakdown. We have fire chief and fire chief and firefighters are up there. Okay, so maybe that's where they are.
Yeah. Yes, it's above.
Yeah, they're one block up.
Yeah, but then it says police chief and officers, but under public safety, you have police, EMS, and harbor master, but no fire. See what I'm
I
saying?
wonder why these.
Yeah, that's
have
interesting.
That's missing, that should be added. They
Yeah.
are the first
What
responders.
What was it? I'm sorry, what?
So on the 1, 2, 3, 4th row, you see fire chief and firefighters. And then you see police chief and police officers. And then go down to the next row, you see public safety. And in box 1, you see police, EMS, and harbor master. I'm offering, it should say police, fire, EMS, and harbor master.
Can I write on this?
Right,
Can I write on this?
fire. Right. Yeah, point well taken.
And I would also wonder where, if at all, emergency management would fall under this org chart.
Well, emergency management falls under.
So it's like EMS.
But if it's not listed here, so if anyone was looking for emergency management director information,
EMS,
no, that's medical.
emergency medical.
That's emergency medical
So
services.
EMA, no, what did you say?
Yeah, so emergency management.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Should that be the row up above along with,
These-
I don't know, you know what I mean, I don't know
that would be row 4.
where it would fall, I just think it
Yeah.
should be a category on the,
You might put emergency management right after appointed
Say-
I would
commissions.
think it'd be reversed, maybe put public safety up here.
Well, no, I think it should be fire chief, police chief, and then I think firefighters and police officers should be listed and
Below.
considered here, because your police officers wouldn't be on the same level as the town administrator. It should say fire chief, police chief as chief of major departments, with the police officers and firefighters listed, police officers, EMS, firefighters, EMA.
I would even say emergency management because that's a separate role for me than police chief, so they're two separate. I would even say emergency management would be up with the fire chief, the police chief, you know what I mean?
So
Or
what's it-
police chief slash emergency management.
Yep.
However it visually looks. I
Would you
just-
put that in with police chief?
Yeah, I
You
would
would?
say put it police chief slash emergency management director.
Yeah, these are all good
And
points.
take out
They're good points.
police officers? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say.
These things, you can pull them apart for
Yeah.
like so much, right?
Yeah, and again, I don't necessarily want to, if the company is deciding where things go and they are, I just think there are two things that should be on there.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So why do we have, you know, 2 different levels for, say, police chief and police officers, and then going down under public safety? Just because we really want to, you know, have access to those links, or?
No, I think the police chief and the fire chief are considered high-level administration for the town in terms of public safety departments.
Okay,
So I think that's why I think the firefighters and police officers should come out of those upper
oh, okay, all right.
and be moved down.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that this was created with the intent that we would be able to click on any one of them and drill down further. I think that's yet to be determined.
Yeah.
This was created just to be a shell.
Mm-hmm.
And now the
Yeah,
question
it's
is,
great.
yeah, and now the question is, should we move pieces of the shell around
Well, I
to
also,
make it clear,
sorry.
whether we drill down below it or not?
I thought, wasn't this what we were talking about a year ago? And we had, you know,
Yeah.
all of this up on the board, and wasn't it to be able to drill down and have that kind of org structure?
Right.
Well, I think, yes.
Well, I'm just not sure if that got lost in translation somehow.
Between that and this?
Yeah, it's been a number of months, and so,
Well, I think that's still, we can still do that. I
Right.
think to Tony's point, when you look at finance, the FinCom would be considered,
Well,
you
the
know,
board- that's a
school,
board, right.
elected boards and committees, their FinCom would be
Yeah.
considered a board. But when you look at finance, well, finance is accountant, assistant accountant, treasurer, collector.
Right.
It's also, I also don't see assessor's office in here either, assessing, and that falls under finance. So I think to Tony's point, are you thinking that once somebody clicks, like if we were to make this interactive, if you clicked on finance, would there be a subset of the org chart that then would list treasurer, collector, assessor, assistant?
The
Is that
org
what you're
chart.
suggesting?
Yes.
Okay.
Interactive. Isn't that the word you're looking for?
Yeah, interactive, thank you. Let me write it
So
down
a-
here.
yeah, sort of like a mini org chart for
Mhm.
that department.
Which, in theory, I mean, didn't we all have to submit those that created this? So they're in existence somewhere.
Yeah, and we still have the capability, I mean, he did engage with services that allow for it to be interactive, and Tracy, quite frankly, is like, if the board feels that it's necessary and wants to go that next step, then that's something that we talk about here. I
Right.
don't think she's expecting that it is or it isn't.
okay, yep.
Oh,
Next step for, to be able to click on any of these and drill down?
yep,
I would recommend that I reach out to Tracy and ask her if she can join us at our next meeting.
Okay.
And if she preferred not to wait for our next meeting, I would schedule a one-on-one session with her. I'll ask for Diane, since you have much more intimate knowledge of the inner workings of this org chart, and drill down with Tracy, get an understanding of how she feels about how interactive she feels it needs to be, and whether we want to create, as you said, subset org charts for each of these, for the major departments at least, and then report back to the board next month.
Did we talk about, and I'm thinking it was a year ago, did we talk about an example of a town structure that had a nice org chart that we liked, that we could, borrow shamelessly?
Yeah.
I mean, we're making this, it's so difficult, right? I mean, and we're just like one piece of this conversation. The IT guy, I mean, he must be kind of banging his head against the wall. This is being recorded, isn't it?
it's okay.
I hope no one looks at these. Anyway,
Love your
anyone.
authenticity.
Yeah, what's my day job, right? No, anyway, this has been a long process, and I'm just thinking that, are there some examples maybe of org charts for town structure that would be, we could look at and just kind of, pick and choose, maybe this one, we like this about something, and it could be examples, not necessarily from specific other towns,
I think,
I did. I sent Tracy about a year and a half ago, and I think I copied you on
I
it.
still have them probably.
Two or three extraordinary town sites. Their organizational charts were interactive. And they were pleasantly done, and they were simple to operate. And you just click on the block,
Excuse
and
me.
it pretty much divulges the entire department, the personnel, and how to connect with them, and what you may and may not do, and what they can do for you, and what they may do for you. And obviously they require some effort, and I try to get them in a village size, not large cities. One was a medium-sized city. It was on the other side of Worcester, but the other two were very small towns, and they happened to both be in central Vermont, looking for the actual size element.
Well, it's interesting because some of these, like the library, you drill down, it's the library. The finance department, there's 5 different subsets of that. So some of these are,
Yeah, mine's multi-tiered.
yours is multi-tiered, finance has multi-tiers. You know, Parks and Rec could be interactive where it takes it to that website where you would solidify your renting of a field or what have you. So I think there's merit to further investigating how it applies and how we make it applicable. And there'll definitely be some suggestions here. Like I'm looking at health, it should say public health or board of, it wouldn't say board of health, but it should say, I mean, health, that could mean fitness instead of board of health. But boards and committees are up here.
Yeah, public health or something.
I would say public health.
I had a question. I'm looking at the horizontal and vertical lines. What do they tell me? Do I look at this and I see some sort of a military chain of command function? He or this department works for that, or that department or works with it, or that, you know, to me that generates some sort of intermissions kind of things going on. But to have the select board, what was it? You know, in other words, the town administrator in the middle, I don't know what the lines are saying, you know, or should say.
I think it's
Or the connectivity.
Yeah, hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, the voters of Newburyport elect,
Newbury.
I'm sorry, Newbury, elect their school committee, their elected officials, the select board, town clerk, moderator. From there, they appoint the town administrator and town council. And then from there, the departments flow up.
So it's from an appointment.
Well, it's from a hierarchy perspective.
Right.
And
So in
how,
other words, the hierarchy above, the entity above the
When
line.
she's
Yeah.
elected.
The board of directors down through the department heads.
And the law.
It's a pretty standard
It is standard.
flow of an org chart.
It's the same as the corporate headquarters, you
I
do
look
the
at it
board of
as-
directors down
She
through
doesn't always
executive
see
officers
that.
down through department
she
heads,
will.
et cetera, et
You know
cetera.
what I
That's what
mean?
this is.
Yep, everyone below.
Yeah.
And Diane's right, you know, the voters of Newbury are at the top of the
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
All right, I'm gonna recommend that
I'm
that
seeing someone
I
else
reach out
in
to
this.
Tracy
Okay.
and bring some of these,
They're elected.
bring some of the questions that we've already identified today to her and ask her if she can schedule some time to meet with us. Or if for some reason she's unable to, then I would suggest I would meet with her separately and then report back to this board what her thoughts are, not only about the front page of this org chart, but perhaps more importantly, how interactive we want it to be, how much further we want to drill down. Is that a good plan?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else on that, or?
no.
no, it's just interesting, it's interesting that planning is under one general administration, but inspectional services are listed under public safety.
Yeah, and like I said, with constables, they're elected officials. They don't report to the fire chief or I.
I made a note.
But, or, you know, so that they fall under the elected officials section, or would they fall under
Schedule time maybe for the both of us to grab?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
safety,
Thank you all.
you know.
So next steps would be that we'll meet with Tracy.
Yeah, well, let me reach out to her and suggest that perhaps Diane and I can spend a little bit of time with her, just going through what we've already discussed today, as well as letting her know that the board feels, at least at this point, that it should become more interactive. It should be able to drill down from that front page. To what extent, we don't know yet, but is that a fair assessment of how the board feels about it?
Fair.
There should be some ability to drill down to at least the next level?
Yes.
Okay. And then the question is, do you include departments, or do you include names and extensions? There's all sorts of permutations here that we can get.
Yeah, I
to,
think if you tried to include names, that's gonna be a very fluid project, because with people coming and going,
Right.
who's
Or at
gonna
least
manage
phone
that?
extensions perhaps is another possibility, so, okay.
And I think with the way that the websites are set up now, if we exclude names and extensions and email addresses from this, because on all of the websites,
Individual pages, yeah.
you know what I mean, once you know the department you're looking for, you can get that information.
Yeah,
We're all pretty transparent with that information, so, and it's easier, when you have an employee change, to not have to change it in multiple different locations, I think is key.
right, this should not become labor intensive.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, because something will get missed,
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
the best laid plans.
Mhm.
The only other business I'll just very briefly address is that had an opportunity last week to attend a quick training session that was put on by town council relative to a fairly new Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court decision regarding a case that situation took place in the town of Southborough. And I'll try to make it as brief as possible. The case was Barron versus Calendar, and it had to do with the town of Southborough's, for lack of a better term, their civility code as it relates to open meetings and public comment. The easiest way to describe it is that the town of Southborough had implemented what they described as a civility code years prior, and it had to do with giving the public an opportunity to address, whether it's this board, the select board, or any board or commission, any public meeting, if you will. Not a public hearing, but a public meeting. And apparently, it devolved into some name calling, and the net was that a member of the select board, I think it was probably the chair of the select board, shut down the conversation. And in retrospect, that should not have happened. That as long as the individuals from the public are civil, they should be allowed to say whatever they want. It may be flattering, it may be complimentary, it may be nasty, but as long as it's civil, as long as there is some courtesy involved, that it doesn't devolve into chaos, it's not a dangerous situation, no one's physically confronting one another, people need to be allowed to say what they want to say. And so, in any public meeting, if in fact you're giving access to the public in your agenda, you need to allow them to say whatever they choose to say, as long as it's civil. We don't have public comment as part of our agenda every month, so for us it's somewhat of a moot point, although I can't recall the last time, if ever, someone in the public sat with us, but if they did choose to do so and somebody raised their hand, I would certainly give them an opportunity to say their piece. Again, I'm not going to get into all the particulars of it, but the bottom line was that it's important when a public body is conducting a meeting with the public involved, and there is public comment allowed, you can't curtail that conversation if you don't like what they have to say.
My sense is that if you show up at tomorrow's select board meeting, it's going to be a large piece of the conversation, just because of the experience we've had the last 3.5 months
Yeah.
here,
Right.
for the Saturday morning
Right.
meetings, as well as the several meetings in
Right.
disparate locations, and it became a circumstance. I don't think we ran into the civility aspect, but
Yeah.
certainly it was a matter of time commitment and restrictions.
And any board, and a board or committee can let the public know in advance,
Yes.
if they so choose, to limit public comment to 15 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes. And each individual may be allowed 2 minutes or 10 minutes. That's up to the board or up to the chair of the board.
We've done, so when I was on the college board for a decade out west, there were some lively conversations. And I remember we did limit during one whole discourse, comments to 5 minutes.
Right.
And we were able, as long as you put that out in advance and adhere to it consistently,
Right.
That's
the key, is
Yeah,
is to
that is
adhere
the
to
key,
the
yeah.
policy, exactly. And boards can cut it different ways. You can choose to have general public comment at the beginning or at the end of the meeting that may or may not be tied to the agenda items, perfectly fine. You can create a hybrid model where you have public comment on any subject and public comment on certain agenda items, that's fine as well, or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
But what you can't do is limit someone's discussion points because they may not be complimentary, because they may be banging on a board member or the board as a whole. Perfectly fine as long as it remains
Civil.
not a dangerous situation, so. Okay? And all of the,
It's sort
all
of
of the
code,
board,
is sort of the difference between brash and civil.
I am the beholder sometimes, but, yeah. So, any other questions on that?
No.
None.
Okay. Any other new business or old business to address? No? Our next meeting would be June 26th, Monday the 26th of June. Is that a date that works for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Monday, June 26th at 4 p.m. Okay, seeing no other hands raised, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? We are adjourned.